Every CEO I know is asking what they should add to their business this year. Should they add a new offer, a new funnel, a new hire, a new platform, or a new strategy? And almost nobody is asking what they should actually remove. And if you ask me, that is why they are stuck. If you keep asking what is missing instead of asking what you need to release, then I want you to keep watching or listening. Hey, I hate to interrupt the goodness that's happening right now in this episode, but I need you to do me a quick favor. If this episode is blessing your life and business right now, would you please take a few minutes to rate and review the show? Listen, your words will help more seven-figure CEOs and seven-figure CEOs in the making find us and make the move to their next level. All right, thank you so much. Now, let's get back into the conversation because we were literally just getting this party started. If you have been with me the entire pruning season series, you already know that growth does not come from addition. It comes from alignment. And alignment, guess what? It requires subtraction. If you do not prune on purpose, you will be pruned by force. And force pruning always costs more than pruning that you chose. This episode is going to give you a powerful protocol and practice and a framework that you can run so that your business stays aligned, your leadership stays sharp, and God does not have to come in and shut something down in order to get your attention. Over the last 6 episodes, we have walked through the full arc of a pruning season. We've talked about recognition, resistance, release, sudden loss, relational shifts, identity death, and renewal. And if you did the work, you should be different than when you started listening. Something should have shifted. Something should have been named and something should have been released. But here's the question almost no one asks after a pruning season. How do I make sure that I never have to go through a forced pruning season ever again? Because the truth is this, most CEOs only prune when the pain gets loud enough, when the misalignment becomes unbearable, when the revenue stalls, or when their body breaks down, or when God steps in and removes something that you would not. But the CEOs who thrive at the highest of levels, they do not wait for there to be a crisis. They actually build pruning into their calendar. They schedule the cut. They run the audit. They evaluate on purpose what most people only evaluate under pressure. This episode is going to give you that practice. And if you use it, you will never be blindsided by a pruning season again. You are watching or listening to the Move to Millions podcast. I am your host, Dr. Darnyelle, award-winning CEO of Incredible One Enterprises and the creator of several powerful business systems, including the Move to Millions method. This is part 7 and the final episode in our pruning season series. Woo! We made it, y'all. And if you are just finding us, you can absolutely start here and use the protocol as a standalone tool. But if you want the full context of why this protocol even exists, I'm going to invite you to go back to part 1 and walk through the entire series. It will change how you lead. Now, let me start with the business case, because before I give you the protocol, I want to make sure that you understand why annual pruning is not optional. In some cases, I recommend that it be done every 90 days, and it's absolutely operational. According to Harvard Business Review, they found that most businesses earn 80 to 90% of their profits from fewer than 20% of their products, brands, and offerings. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back. 80 to 90% of your profit is coming from only 20% or less of what you are actually running in your business, which means that the other 80% of your offerings are either breaking even or actively losing money. You are literally carrying dead weight and calling it a full portfolio. And here is what the dead weight is actually costing you. It is not just the unprofitable revenue. It is your attention, your energy, your team's bandwidth, and your creative capacity, as well as your decision-making clarity. Every offer, program, partnership, or initiative that is not producing is still consuming. And the consumption is invisible because it does not show up on your profit and loss statement. But guess where it does show up? In your exhaustion. PricewaterhouseCoopers actually recommends that portfolios be reviewed at least once a year, during your annual planning process. Again, I could make the case for you to do it every 90 days. And not as a financial cleanup, but as a strategic discipline. The companies that do this consistently outperform the ones that do not. So the question is not whether you should prune annually. The question is whether you are willing to build the discipline to do it before God does it for you. Now, before I walk into the protocol, I want to just set the stage again of why I started this whole series. Unless this is your very first time listening, and if it is, hey, welcome. I'm so excited you are here. Then you know that I have been in a gap year. After turning 50 last November, I know I don't look a day over 35, but after turning 50 last year, I had to make some really tough decisions. I had to be honest with myself about what I wanted for my next season in business and career. Like, I don't actually intend to ever retire because I love what it is that I do, but I absolutely do not desire to continue working at the pace that I worked for the last 18 years in my business. And trust me, it paid off. We built a multiple 7-figure business and an 8-figure portfolio. I've got real estate. I've got all the things working to have real wealth after filing bankruptcy when I turned 35 years old. So just 15 years later, having a substantial net worth, it was worth all the work that we did to get there. But here's what I also realized. My 50s, they're for freedom. That means I want to be free. I don't want to have to effort for my millions, especially after God told me in the shower that effort won't make me millions, embodiment will. So I am on an embodiment journey, an evolution that is allowing me to show up fully and be who I have been uniquely designed to be. And there was no way that this evolution could take place if I stayed inside of that previous business, albeit a working business, a profitable business, a multiple 7-figure business. It is not actually serving who I am supposed to be as I move forward. The only way to get to the other side was to go through the pruning process. I literally started stripping away everything. I went from between $85,000 and $100,000 a month in overhead down to between $20,000 and $25,000 a month in overhead. Literally pruning back everything, and I'm looking every single day. There are some things that I only pay once a year that until it is about to come up again, I forgot about it, that I'm now realizing, you know what, for where I'm going, I don't really need that. And so I started to walk through this pruning process. And as I was sitting in my prayer and contemplation time, really just having a little talk with God, I heard him say, you need to walk people through what it is that you've been doing. And so that is what started the pruning season series. And over the course of this series, we've covered a lot. And I have so much more I want to say, so much so that I believe I'm going to start a Substack. If you would like to have me start a Substack, tell me so in the comments on YouTube. Leave a review on the other platforms or tag me in a stories or slide into my DMs and let me know, because I've been really contemplating whether or not I'm going to jump on Substack. I do have so much more I want to say. What I have realized is that every time I tell someone that I am on a gap year, they kind of sit up a little bit taller. They kind of lean in a little bit more, because there are a lot of people who are tired, who have been wanting to step away from what they have been building, but they may not have the courage and the confidence or maybe the craziness to do what I did. Because I literally, y'all, just kind of sort of a little bit stopped cold turkey. I literally just made a decision that I was going to change my business. And while I was figuring out what the change was going to be, I was going to cease to operate everything that I could afford to cease to operate. Now, I have a whole episode here on the show where I get into the nooks and crannies of my gap year and what that all means. So I won't regurgitate all of that, but we'll put a link to it in the show notes. But I decided that I needed to get really, really clear about what I wanted, because my 50s, they're for freedom. Yes, there is a reason that your strategy feels stalled, and it's spiritual. Discover your divine wiring, which informs how you lead, where you're sabotaging, and how to make the shift to scale with the Move to Millions Ascension Archetypes quiz. In just 3 minutes, you'll learn what's really blocking your money, your momentum, and your mission. Take the quiz today at movetomillionsquiz.com. They are for the ability to get up and go and see the world. The trips that I am taking, oh, the places I will go are very different than the places I have gone over the last 18 years that I've been in business. It's become more important now than ever. I've been working, y'all, since I was 13 years old. Since 13, that's 37 years of working. And so now I'm in a season where I still want to do meaningful work and impact the world, but I also want to actually see the world and not just be in the world. And so I'm getting on planes and I'm going to experience cultures and places that my little eyes, born in the projects of Wilmington, Delaware, maybe wasn't even ever supposed to see. But I am fully convinced in my own mind that abundance is my birthright, that millions are my birthright. And to access them, guess what? Your girl need only move. So I am moving. I believe that 2/3 of God's name is go. And so I am going. I am not sitting in my house behind a computer coaching every day of my life anymore. I know I still have work to do, and I am doing that through Sanctuary. Oh, I cannot wait for you to learn, understand, and decide to enroll in Sanctuary, because everybody needs Sanctuary. Everybody needs the level of safety that comes with knowing yourself and shifting the way you see yourself, the way you see money, the way you see wealth, the way you see success, the way you see leadership, the way you see visibility, and feeling safe in a body that does not brace, but instead in a body where it feels safe, normal, everyday, run of the mill, and unremarkable. That is what I am after. The things that I most desire, the experiences that I want to have, being available to me because it is normal to me. And that is what I am getting. So the reason I started this whole series is because I wanted to let you into my world and understand the pruning process that I myself have been going through. I have not tried to purport that I'm on the other side yet, because I'm not. I'm still in my gap year. At the time of recording this episode, we are starting month 5 of the gap year. So I am knee deep into it, but I am so grateful that I gave myself permission and I released the need to be in control of everything and lifted my hands in oh so sweet surrender to allow this process to unfurl in a way that will honor my best and my highest good. So I have been so excited to share this with you throughout this series. And in this final episode in the series, I'm going to give you a powerful protocol that covers 5 areas that allows you to do 5 audits that you can run at least once a year. Again, I could make the case for you to do this every 90 days when you do your SWOT analysis and you review the progress and the success of the programs that you are offering. When you operate your business in 90-day sprints, it's a game changer. It changes everything for you. And if you decided to look at this pruning protocol every 90 days, wow, the way you would grow. But at minimum, you want to run these protocols once a year, these 5 audits. Now, I recommend that you do this in the 4th quarter of the year so that you are ready for January, the start of a new calendar and potentially fiscal year, depending upon how you grow your business. I recommend that you block half a day and that you don't rush it, and that you don't look at it as a task, but instead you look at it as an opportunity to be strategically disciplined and to protect your leadership over the next 12 months. That is what I recommend. That is the way that I recommend that you look at this. That's how you frame it. That is your come from. That is the energy that you allow to possess your desire to go through this pruning protocol. All right. The first area I want you to look at is your offers. We call this the offer audit. I want you to look at every offer, every program, every service, every revenue stream that you have inside of your business. And for each one of them, you're going to ask yourself 4 questions. Number 1, is this still aligned with my assignment? Not my brand, not my market, but my assignment. The thing that I am uniquely designed and called to do in the earth. Is this still energizing me, or is it only compensating me? If I were starting from scratch today, would I build this? What becomes possible if this is no longer on my plate? These are the alignment audit questions from episode number 3 in this series. I want you to run them annually, and they become a filter that prevents you from carrying expired offers into a new season. Now, the goal is not to cut everything. The goal is to identify the 20% that produces your results and gives you permission to release the 80% that is actually consuming your capacity without earning its place. That's area number 1. Okay, area number 2 is the client audit. You want to look at your client roster, every single active client, every retainer, every ongoing relationship. And for each one, you want to ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, does this client reflect the kind of work I want to be doing in the next 3 years? Number 2, does this client energize my leadership or deplete it? And number 3, if this client came to me today as a prospect, would I say yes to serving them? If the answer to any of those questions is no, that client has completed its assignment. Their season is likely over. That doesn't mean that you have to fire every client who drains you tomorrow, but it does mean that you want to create a transition plan with those clients. You stop allowing them to renew, you stop overextending yourself, and you begin to make room for the clients who match where you are going next. Trust me when I tell you, the cost of holding misaligned clients is not just emotional, it is financial, but it is also spiritual. Because every hour you spend serving someone who no longer fits is an hour you cannot spend attracting someone who does. Area number 3, the team and partnership audit. I want you to look at your team. Look at your vendors and look at your partnerships. Look at the collaborations that you have in place. And for each one, I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. Number 1, is this person or partnership operating at the level my next season requires? And number 2, am I keeping this relationship out of loyalty or out of alignment? This one is the hardest for most CEOs because it involves other people. And people are not programs. You cannot sunset a person the way that you can sunset an offer, right? But you can be honest about whether the person in the role is the person the role needs. And you can make that assessment with grace, generosity, and clarity. Loyalty, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, but loyalty without alignment becomes obligation, and obligation will slow your business faster than anything else ever will. Now, the question is not what should you add this year? The question is what should you stop carrying? Moving on to area number 4, the environment audit. I want you to look at the rooms you are in, the masterminds, the memberships, the communities, the associations, the networking group, the conferences you attend, the circles you invest your time and energy in. And for each one, I want you to ask one simple question. Does this room challenge the version of me that is emerging, or does it comfort the version of me that has overstayed its welcome? If a room is no longer growing you, that means it is holding you back. And every room that is holding you is taking up space that a better room could fill. This audit is the one most CEOs skip because rooms feel intangible. And the relationships you've built there, I mean, let's keep it real. But you have to understand that your environment shapes your nervous system, and your nervous system shapes your capacity, and your capacity shapes your revenue. The rooms you sit in are not just social, they are indeed strategic. And the 5th and final area is the identity audit. This is the deepest one. And it is the one that makes this protocol different from every other annual review you have ever done in your life, career, or business. You're going to ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, who did I need to be to build what I built this year? Number 2, who do I need to become to build what I am building called to next? And number 3, what identity props am I still carrying that belong to the last season? I want you to review the 4 identity props from episode number 5, the achiever, the fixer, the provider, and the expert. And I want you to check in with yourself honestly. Which one is still running and which one are you still performing? Which one is keeping you tethered to a version of yourself that the next season does not need? This is why, because this is the audit that no spreadsheet can run. This is the audit you cannot put into ChatGPT or Claude. This happens between you and God, between you and your journal, between you and your next level of safety and success. 5 areas. I'm talking about your offers, your clients, your teams and partnerships, your environment, and your identity. You want to run them at least once a year. You want to build them into your fourth quarter, end of year planning. Treat them the same as you would a serious financial review, because the financial review tells you where the money went, and the pruning protocol will tell you where your alignment went. And alignment is what produces the money. Now, I want to give you some practical logistics, because I don't want this to just be another framework that you agree with, but you never actually implement in your life or your business. I want you to block 4 hours. I want you to put it on your calendar right now for fourth quarter of this year and every year. Try to do it as standingly as you possibly can. I want you to protect it the way that you protect client delivery. It's not optional. It is CEO work. I want you to run each audit with a journal or a document open, and I want you to write your answers down. I don't want you to just think them. Thinking lets you rationalize. Writing forces clarity. And for each audit, I want you to make 3 lists: what stays, what goes, and what needs to transition. The stays are your foundations for the upcoming year. The goals are the action items that you want to get rid of at least by quarter 1, and the transitions get a 90-day timeline. Then I want you to share your results with someone who can hold you accountable: a coach, a peer, a community, someone who will not let you negotiate your way back into what you have already decided to release from your life. If you do this once, I promise you, you will see the benefit. Now, if you start doing this every year, you will never be surprised by a pruning season again, because you will facilitate it on a regular basis. Remember, God only prunes what is growing. Every leader, I believe, has one area of this protocol that they will naturally want to avoid. And the area you avoid is going to determine what costs you the most. Determining which is your area is going to be based on how you're divinely wired. In case you haven't guessed it yet, yes, I am talking about the Move to Millions Ascension Archetype Quiz that I created, which is quite honestly becoming the foundation of the way we communicate with our community. What I've realized is that when I connect with you based on how you are divinely wired, the results of our connection deepen massively. Now, when you take the quiz, which only takes 3 minutes, by the way, you will learn if you are one of 5 archetypes: the performer, the producer, the pathmaker, the powerhouse, or the prophet. And there is no right or wrong archetype. It's really just about having an awareness of how you are divinely wired and what you need to know and understand to work with, not against, your wiring, so that you can unlock all of your goals and your money and your wealth and your leadership and your success. Now, if you are a performer, hey performer, you will skip the environment audit, because your rooms are where your visibility lives, and visibility is your oxygen. You will audit your offers and your clients, but you will not question the rooms, because the rooms in your mind are where you are seen. Now, my recommendation is that you make the environment audit your first priority, not your last, because the rooms that celebrate you and the rooms that grow you are rarely the same rooms. If you are a producer, hey producer, you will likely skip the identity audit, because identity work does not feel productive for you. It does not have a deliverable. It does not give you a metric that you can track. You will run every other audit with precision and skip the one that requires you to sit with yourself without a spreadsheet. But I want to invite you to make the identity audit non-negotiable, because your systems will always reflect the person who built them. And if the person who built them has not evolved, guess what? The systems will keep you where you are and not take you to where you desire to be. If you are a pathmaker, hey pathmaker, you will skip the offer audit, not because you do not know what to cut, but because cutting feels like closing a door and you want every door open. You will keep all 4 doors running when only one is outperforming the rest of them. But I want you to make the offer audit ruthless. One aligned offer will always outperform a portfolio of possibilities. If you are a powerhouse, hey, powerhouse, you will skip the team audit because evaluating your team feels like admitting something failed under your watch, and powerhouses do not like to think that they fail. But holding on to a team member who no longer fits is not loyalty, it is control. And control is the identity prop your pruning season is trying to remove. I want you to make the team audit honest. Your next level needs a team that matches it, not a team that survived the last one, and not a team that you are with just because of loyalty. And last but not least, if you are a prophet, hey, prophet, you will skip the client audit because you see every client's potential and you do not want to give up on anyone. But serving someone out of empathy when the alignment has ended is not generosity. It is self-sacrifice. And self-sacrifice is not a business growth strategy. I want you to make the client audit clear-eyed. The clients who match your assignment are waiting for the space that your misaligned clients are currently occupying. It is time to release them. Now, again, you'll learn that there's no right or wrong archetype, but you will get a boatload of insights when you take a moment to take the quiz at movetomillionsquiz.com. I want you to know your blind spot, and I want you to schedule that audit first because the one you avoid is the one that will cost you the most. Now, I've been talking to you all series long about Sanctuary, my new programming. I put my hand on my heart because it is my love. And in episode number 1, I told you that Sanctuary is a space I built because I needed it. That was entirely true. In episode number 2, I told you that the stability that lets you hold the gap is what Sanctuary is. And part 3, I told you that when you learn how to hold the gap between profitable and aligned, you are in the sanctuary. And in episode 4, I told you that it is the room that can hold your evolution. And in episode 5, I told you is where you go to become. And in episode 6, I told you that it is the soil where your fruit actually takes fruit. All of that is true. And in this episode, I just want to tell you the final piece. Sanctuary is not a one-time experience. It is the practice of becoming, because pruning is not a one-time event. It is a leadership discipline. And the leaders who operate at the highest of levels are the ones who have a space where the pruning is ongoing, where the identity work is continuous, and where the alignment is checked and rechecked with the support of people who understand what it costs to lead at the next level. So if this series has moved anything in you, Sanctuary is where you protect what has moved, where you practice this protocol with people who will hold you to it, and where the version of you that is emerging actually has room to grow without being pushed, performed, or abandoned. And while right now you cannot enroll in Sanctuary, you can get on the wait list. I'm putting the link to the wait list for Sanctuary in the show notes. Here's what I want you to think about. If you desire to feel safe, secure, and confident in your relationships with yourself, with money, with wealth, with leadership and success, then you need Sanctuary. I think everyone needs Sanctuary, and this is your invitation to get on the wait list. I can't wait to serve you in Sanctuary. We have been on a journey together. We've gone through 7 parts and 7 different conversations that most business podcasts will never have, because most business podcasts only want to talk about what to build. But we actually talked about what to release, what to prune, and what to keep praying through, and what happens when God cuts without giving you a heads up. We talked about why profitable is not the same thing as being aligned, about the loneliness that comes with evolution, and about the identity that often needs to die, as well as what actually grows after the cut. And now we're talking about how to prune on purpose so that you never get caught off guard again. If you walk through this entire series with me and you did the work along the way, I believe that you are not the same person who started part number 1. Something has changed, something has been named, and something has been released. And right now, something is growing. And I need you to hear me say this to you. I am so proud of you. Not because you listened to my podcast, but because you stayed with it. You stayed even when it got uncomfortable. You stayed when the mirror was hard to look at. And you stayed when the identity props were being named and yours was on the list. Let me be the first to tell you that that is legacy-led leadership. Staying in the pruning long enough for the fruit to go, whew, that is amazing, and I honor and I celebrate you. All right. Now, there are 3 things I want you to do right now. Number 1, you probably guessed it. I want you to go take the Ascension Archetype quiz at movetomillionsquiz.com if you have not done so already. I want you to know your archetype. I want you to know your resistance pattern. I want you to know your loyalty pattern. And I want you to know your identity addiction, as well as your pruning blind spot. This quiz is the single fastest way to see yourself clearly as a leader, and clarity is where everything begins. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to schedule your first annual pruning protocol. I want you to block 4 hours some point during the next year or this quarter if you have never done one before. You're going to do all 5 audits, the offers, the clients, the team, the environment, and the identity. You're going to run them all. You're going to write the answers, and you're going to share them with someone who will hold you accountable. And the third thing I want you to do is I want you to share this series, not just this episode, the whole series. Send it to a CEO in your life who needs it, the one who is feeling stalled, stagnant, or maybe they're even using the word stuck. The one who is exhausted, who is burnt out, the one who is holding on by a thread, the one who is lonely, the one who does not know who they are without performing. Send them part number 1 and tell them to start walking through the series, that the series was built for them. Now, I want you to say this with me one final time. Put your dominant hand on your heart. I trust the pruning. I release what no longer serves my assignment. I am not who I was. I am becoming who I am meant to be. And my next level is not waiting on a strategy. It is waiting on me. Trust me when I tell you millions are your birthright, and to access them, you need only move. And the move, it starts with pruning. I want to thank you for walking through the pruning season series with me. It has been my joy, my honor, and my privilege to share it with you as a part of season 7. This marks the end of season 7. I cannot wait to see you next season. Take care. Thank you for joining me for the Move to Millions podcast. Every 7-figure CEO has a divine design, and yours is waiting to be revealed. Take the Ascension Archetype quiz today at movetomillionsquiz.com, and you'll uncover how you're wired for wealth and what needs to shift in order for you to make the move with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. Now, if this episode blessed you, do me a favor, subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And always remember, millions are your birthright, and to access them, you need only move. Take care.